Good morning, guys. It is August 11th, 2023. In this video here, I'm going to talk about a few things that I've been seeing that have been really driving me crazy. There's a lot of news that's coming out about, the eviction moratorium of 2020 is coming to an end and people are being evicted and it's such a crisis and blah 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 blah. Okay, first of all, I didn't even know that there were eviction moratoriums that were still going on 3 years later. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I understand that there are certain situations where people are truly struggling and they're really having a hard time. I completely understand that. I understand that there are some exceptions to what I'm going to say. But I can tell you that the vast majority of people are most likely not in this category. First of all, let me tell you that if you had an eviction moratorium for 3 years, there is no reason that in 3 years you couldn't have found a way to get some income and get caught up on your bills. And people say, well, there's no jobs out there. That's baloney. You can go down the street and start working somewhere and try to do the best you can. And again, I'm going to make this disclaimer. There are exceptions, and I completely understand that. This is not talking about everyone. But I'm talking about the majority of people who are dealing with this. If you had an eviction moratorium for 3 years and now you're whining that you're on the verge of being evicted and stuff, I'm sorry, I have zero sympathy for you. None whatsoever. And I know that might sound harsh, but here's where I'm coming from. You have got to understand that you signed up to pay these bills and pay this amount to this landlord. You signed a contract with this landlord. You signed the lease with this landlord, agreeing to pay these certain amounts every month to live there. You signed up for this. And so, for you to turn around and say, well, it's not fair that I'm being evicted because, blah, 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 blah. Again, you signed up for it. You were responsible for it. And I don't want to hear your whining. Because if you had more than enough time to try to figure out how to get an income and pay your bills and get caught up on your bills, and you just decided not to, or you just decided to squander all your money away on other frivolous stuff that's not important and be wasteful and stupid, then I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for you. Because you chose to be irresponsible, and these are the consequences that you're going to have to deal with. I'm sorry, but sometimes we have to learn the hard way. And there's not going to be somebody to come and rescue you from stuff. You're going to have to figure it out. by either paying this up or trying to figure out another situation to live. You have got to be responsible with your bills. Now, I will say that I still live in my parents' house, but guess what? I do pay a portion of rent every single month, and no matter what, that rent gets paid. Now, it's my own parents. I'm sure they'll understand if there's an issue, but there's never really been an issue. And I don't care who it is. If you agreed to pay a certain amount each month to someone, you need to take responsibility and stick to your word that you're going to do that. Now, once again, I understand that there are certain people who lost jobs. There are certain people who really did struggle and they got behind on their rent and they had some difficulties. I completely understand that stuff happens, but there should never be an excuse not to pay rent when you can. When you can figure it out, when you can go get a job, when you can go do something, when you can get your income up, and you decide to squander it away on a new TV, a new car, whatever, then I'm sorry, but you're just foolish. Straight up foolish. And, as a Christian, there is a passage in the Bible that actually talks about this, because, you need to make sure that you are paying whoever it is that is providing this land and this house to you, or apartment, or whatever, Because think about this. It is not fair in any way, shape, or form for your landlord to be working his butt off, trying to keep your home in good condition. That's assuming you have a good landlord. In my experience, we've had pretty good landlords in most of the places we lived in. And this house is no exception. They're working their butt off to keep your home in good shape, to keep it maintained. They most likely probably have a mortgage on the home and property taxes and all these things that they're paying. And for you not to pay your rent and your part in that is not okay. Not to mention any maintenance requests you have. If your heat or air goes out, they've got to cover that cost, and so your rent covers that cost. If you have a roof leak, your rent most likely covers that cost. So I don't want to hear people whining about being evicted if they were just straight up stupid and decided not to pay rent when they could, okay? Sorry, but I have absolutely zero sympathy for your stupidity. And that's what it is. It's stupidity. It's foolishness. I'm sorry, but I have zero sympathy for people like that. And once again, as I said before, There are exceptions, and I totally understand that. But I can tell you that the vast majority of these people are not in this situation. So let me read a passage that talks about some of this in the Bible. It's Matthew chapter 21, verse 33 through 46, I believe. Yes. This is the parable of the tenants. It's very fitting to what I'm talking about. Listen to another parable. There was a landowner who planted a vineyard. He put a wall around it, dug a wine press in it, and built a watchtower. Then he rented the vineyard to some farmers and went away on a journey. Then the harvest time approached. He sent his servants to the tenants to collect his fruit. The tenants seized his servants, and they beat one and killed another, and stoned a third. Then he sent other servants to them, more than one. Hold on. Then he sent another servants to them, more than the first time. And the tenants threatened them the same way. Last of all, he sent his son to them. They will respect my son, he said. But when the tenants saw the son, they said to each other, "This is the here. Come, let's kill him and take his inheritance." So they took him and threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. Therefore the land trying to find my place. Therefore, when the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those tenants? He will bring those wretches to a wretched end, they replied, and he will rent the vineyard to other tenants who will give him his share of the crop at the harvest time. Jesus said to them, "Have you never read the scriptures? The stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. The Lord has done this and many marvelous things in our eyes. Therefore, I tell you that the kingdom of God will be taken away from you, and a people who will produce its fruit. He who falls on the stone will be broken into pieces, but he on whom it falls will be crushed." when the chief priests and the Pharisees heard Jesus' parables, they knew he was talking about them. They looked for a way to arrest him, but they were afraid of the crowd because the people held that he was a prophet. So basically, this talks about like the crops and the fruits and stuff, and that was like part of the agreement of the land owner. You give me some of this if you're willing to be here and use my land. Translating that into modern day terms, your landlord is giving you that land, that house, that apartment, whatever it is, to earn an income. So that way he can feed his family, he can provide for his family. So it's right there in the Bible, people. And whether you believe the Bible or not, I don't really care, but it's right in there. You can read it for yourself. So basically, in conclusion, I have no sympathy for what I'm hearing out there, because I don't want to hear your whining. If you had every opportunity, if you had more than enough resources, if you had what you needed to pay those bills and you chose not to, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get any sympathy from me if you're foolish. Now, if you're truly struggling and you're truly having a hard time, I'm more receptive to that. But if you had the opportunity to earn a living, you had the opportunity to get caught up on your bills, you had the opportunity to figure out how you were going to pay your bills, and you choose not to, don't be surprised what the consequences are going to be, because the consequences are going to be if you don't pay, you don't get the service or the good that's available. You're just not. That's just the way it is. And you are responsible for your finances. You are responsible for your bills and to make sure that you have a roof over your head. It is your responsibility. It is nobody else's responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility. It's not somebody else's responsibility. It's your responsibility. You signed this lease. You signed this contract with this landlord, and you are responsible for it. Period. The end. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, and there is no excuse for not paying it when you were able to. None whatsoever. So anyway, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that, because that's something that's been driving me nuts for the last week, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves that has been going on since the pandemic. It just has been driving me insane, because people think that, oh, I don't have to pay my bills, And then they rack up all this back rent, and then they're shocked when it's all due at once, and then they're evicted. Hello? These landlords have been suffering from your stupidity, big time. And I'm not talking, like I said, I'm not talking about the people who are truly struggling at all. I am talking about the people who had more than enough opportunities to figure out how to get back on track with their rent, figure out how to earn a living, figure out how to get their bills paid, and they choose not to. So anyway, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.